friend.
Hello. I don't know why I'm trying to make it awkward. Like I'm just being awkward for no reason.
My good friend Ade.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm alright, man. I'm
Tell
good,
us a
man. It's
little
good to
bit
be
about
here.
yourself, please, Ade.
Are we going straight into it? I feel like I'm in an
Just tell us
interview.
about yourself, man.
I'm joking,
Hey,
man. I'm joking, man. Okay, yeah, my name's Ade. What would you like to know? A bit about myself in what sense? Like,
Ade, what do you do?
oh, okay.
How old are you?
I'm 30 years old.
Okay.
I think. I'm joking. I'm going to be 31 by the time this comes out. And I currently work at a builder's merchant as a stock controller.
Okay.
Been doing that for about 2 years now. So yeah, since my daughter was born basically, because she's 2 years old. And yeah, it's pretty much me. I do podcasting also.
Okay,
Hey,
plug
don't
it,
know.
please.
Hey.
Let it now.
No, just do like gaming stuff like
Where can they find you?
OGX on Twitter, at OGX UK.
That's it.
Yeah.
Are you on Instagram as well? Or no?
My Insta, not really. I don't really use Insta.
Do you want to plug your socials or not?
Baba Groovy on Twitter. At Baba Groovy on Twitter.
Okay, no, fair enough. Okay, so you mentioned you got a daughter. What's her name? Am I sharing that?
Akira.
And when's her birthday?
She was born on Valentine's Day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
dope.
going to be free quite soon, actually.
Yeah, she's gonna be trying to corner. Man, time flies, man.
Listen, it's a big age. Anyway, so the topic for this conversation really is living with your partner and raising a child together, because I feel like there's this, in reality, especially amongst ourselves, our age group as well, most fathers are not with the mum, or they don't live together, or it's a complicated situation. But you in particular, you made it seem so straightforward since I've known you, because I knew you before you had a carer, and I've sort of witnessed transition from you being single to you being into a relationship to you being a dad.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk us through what it's like living with.
Do you know what? I would say everything was like, the transition wasn't as bumpy as it should have been, because obviously when Osi and I, my partner, when we both started seeing each other, things weren't as stable as obviously as they are now.
Yeah, of course.
So at the beginning, it was a little bit, tricky, in a sense of like trying to figure ourselves out, and then on top of that, trying to, having a baby come in as well. I remember the exact moment. I was this when I used to work at Screwfix. I was actually in the middle of serving a customer, and I got the text message. I looked down at my phone. Also, you shouldn't be using your phone when you're serving someone, but I looked down at my phone, and I swear to you, like my heart froze, like. Like some people are talking to me, like someone's trying to buy something. I'm just like fully spaced out, like literally in that moment, and I couldn't do nothing. I just froze, and then I had to be excused. I went to the toilet, and then at this point, she was still trying to she'd missed. She obviously realized her period hadn't come, blah blah blah. So she went to do like an emergency test. So in that period of waiting, I just stayed on the toilet in the men's. I just stayed in the men's toilet because I couldn't go out and face the world, bruv. Like in that moment, bruv, I was so weak. Like literally couldn't feel my knees. Like no, seriously, I remember so clearly. I stood in the toilet, and then, but yeah, all in all, I say this to say I was really scared. Of a lot of things. I was scared of just because that was the last thing I was expecting in that moment, at that point in my life. And our situation, like I said, wasn't, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best in terms of like stability, jobs and just everything. So after obviously, going home and like speaking, we had to like speak about it, figure out what we was gonna do. And
at this point, were you living together or not?
No, at this point we weren't. At this point we weren't living together, and that's another decision that we had to make, and a lot of decisions that we made had to be made very, very quickly.
I can imagine.
Because one thing about me is I can be very like relaxed and like lazy with things when it comes to doing things, but I swear to you, like no joke, when the moment that I got that message and the moment that we had a conversation and figured out what we were gonna do, like everything just went bang, bang, bang in terms of me, figuring out how we're going to like our living situation, job situation, and everything else that would come afterwards, and kind of like just took it in our stride, I'd say, man. But it does help to have a supportive partner. That's one thing, like, I think I've been very, very lucky with, is that I've been with someone that's been very supportive, like, throughout the entire journey. And you know, obviously there has been moments that is, like you said, like, you know, it's very challenging, you know, because we were living two very different lives before that, and had to come to a point of, okay, this is what we're doing and we have to do it together. Everything since that day has been a partnership.
I love that.
And I think that's what's, you know, that's what's really helped. It's just been a partnership, like.
Okay. So did you start living together after she was born or before?
Oh no, before she was born. So before she was
What
born.
was the decision making? What was behind that? Who decided? How did you decide?
We just literally I remember laying there one night and we were just like, okay, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And we was just like, yeah. And we went to my parents. At this point, I still hadn't told no one, obviously my family and my immediate family, but I did tell like some friends I was really close with to kind of like try and figure out what I was gonna do. And I remember, like I said, we was laying there one night and we was like, okay, cool, yeah, okay, we need to go see your parents and my parents and let them know that this is what we're going to do, because we're from like an African household, so there's the way they want things done a certain way, like, do you understand what I'm saying? So like, you know, like the whole have to show respect, you know, speak to this person, speak to that person, and then boom, and we was off, and that was it, literally. Since then, I make it so sound. I honestly, like, obviously, like anything in life, there's challenges. I make it sound so seamless, and I swear to you, I don't mean to get all religious, but I do think I couldn't. There's no way we could have done that by ourselves. Like, one, we were lucky in the fact that we had support from friends and family, and a lot of support from friends and family, I should say, and like God, like I should, you know, because it was insane. You like, we've been friends, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's no way for me to actually fully try and obviously I'll try and articulate it, but I can never get it out in such a short space of time. But again, just having someone that was supportive and communication. I'm telling you, I tell my friends, I will die on this mountain, bruv. I'm telling you, bruv. Communication, bruv.
You always talk about that.
Bro, like, I'm talking about like the simplest things, like, you know, I'm going to the shop, I'm gonna buy something. Do you want this? Like, do you know what I mean? Just like little, just little things, you know, because the smallest things that are not said are things that I've witnessed, you know, from the outside, from when I was growing up in relationships and seeing how people, what was failing and what was working. I've just picked things up from along the way and just used like an example of like, you know, wins and fails, like, you know, and just took the things that I wanted in my life and just ran with it, really, and never looked back.
I respect that. So I've got another question for you, actually. So considering like most of our peers, that they're not with they're not even with their child's mum. Two, they don't get the opportunity to live together. So you're kind of like, in the sense, you're kind of like both the primary carer as opposed to like primary or secondary. So how does that make you feel? Because
do you know what it
it's
makes?
so unique.
One thing, you know what? One thing I would say is it makes me appreciate single parents, because the challenges that we face is the same for any parent. You know, every parent has, or the kid's got to go to school, or childcare issues. Like we were just talking off air before we came on camera. We were talking about childcare. You know, there's a lot of challenges that people face that I think, like, people who are not parents don't really understand until they are parents. And I really hate to say that because it is very cliche, but it is true. Like, until you are in the situation, it's very, very hard for you to empathize. You can sympathize, but you can't empathize because you haven't gone through it. You haven't had to make certain sacrifices. So, what was the question again? I just went off again, sorry.
How does it make you feel?
But yeah, no, that's it. It makes me appreciate single parents, sorry, is the point I was trying to make out of that. But as for me and how it makes us feel is, it's challenging because, again, like, you know, we are, in as much as we're doing it together, we can be very different people, you know, in the way that we see things and, you know, we want to deal with things. Like, I'll give you an example, like, for instance, like, when it comes to, I think discipline is like one of the things that of parenting, I would say it's a struggle for me personally, because you don't know, at what point is it, okay, am I being strict? Am I being lenient? Am I being, you know, and for instance, if both the parents are not on the same page, I would say it can be very, you know, it can be very challenging because what is like, you know, I've spent the whole day trying to patent this girl here, and then you've just come along and done the complete opposite. Not to say that this is the current situation, but just an hypothetical, like just an example. And I would say for me, yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but like I don't want to repeat myself. Communication, man. I think it's
No,
what's
listen,
it.
yeah, because like you mentioned, like when it comes to discipline, it's a bit of a funny one because your idea of discipline might be different to hers. So
Yeah.
I guess communication is very important
Yeah.
in that sense. And I guess this leads me on to my next question for you, which will be how do you manage your relationship with, so obviously you've got a relationship with your partner, you've got a relationship with your daughter, and then there's a dynamic of you three as a collective. How do you manage that basically?
Bruv,
How do you keep her happy? How do you keep both of them
The
happy?
other day, yeah, this is gonna sound so off key, yeah, but the other day I was in a party chat on PlayStation, yeah. No, listen. I was on a party chat on PlayStation, and I was literally, it took me a moment to realize, because one thing is, I'm a heavy gamer, like that's one thing about me. And trying to divide my time to find time to play games these days is very, very hard, because I only have like a 4-hour window after work to, prepare for the next day, chill with my daughter and chill with her, my partner as well, and kind of like figure out, oh, how was your day, do the whole blah, blah, blah. So when am I gonna actually go? Anyway, so I was on a party chat the other day and I was just like to the guys, I was like, bro, maintaining a relationship here and trying to play PlayStation, no, seriously. So can you imagine something as just as simple as PlayStation? Like, so you can imagine me making a complaint about that. So can you imagine what balancing act you'd have to do for important things, like when it comes to your relationship, when it comes to like things. And I honestly, it sounds like a joke, but people that don't have, like, if you don't have like the commitment to kind of like want to say, you know what, today I'm not going to play PlayStation, today I'm not going to, watch this TV show, and just say, okay, how was your day? Or spend some time with your child. Because one thing for me, one thing that hurts me, I would say, is being away from them for so long, being at work. Because you can testify to this. Sometimes you go away from your child and you come back and you notice that something has changed, but you wasn't there for that change. Like you didn't get to witness that change, and someone else is pointing it out to you. So like sometimes when those things happen to me, it kind of hurts me. So what for me I try to do is to spend as much time with them as possible, which is why, as you would know, I rarely ever, not to say, going out is a bad thing, but when I go out, I want to go out with them. When I do things, I want to do it with them, like, because I don't get that time back. Like, time is something that we was talking off air, like one day you're going to wake up, they're going to be 5, they're going to be 6, they're going to be 7, and it's like, dude.
You don't look back and think to yourself, oh, I wish I did this.
Yeah, like every moment is literally so, like, again, people who, I can't speak for, someone such as yourself, because your experience is totally different to mine in the time that you do get to spend with her. So in the times that I am, even though I'm there, it's weird, because I feel like I'm, experiencing the same thing as you, because even though I'm there, it's like I'm not, because I'm gone away for so long during the day. By the time I get back, what do you have left? Like, it's hard. It's hard,
but you make it happen. The thing is, like I said, every time we talk, every time I feel like, because you open up to me outside, like when we're together and stuff, it's just like, you make it seem like it's doable.
Yeah, no,
it's doable.
Do you know, let me tell you one thing about my attitude, like, not to stray a little bit. When I used to work in a college, right? And one of the turning points for me in my life was seeing, there was this man who came into the college for his, like, I think it was an open day or whatever. But in that moment, he was outside and I could just hear him like making noise on the phone. Obviously, I had to like tell him, just keep it down or whatever. But I could see he was excited about something. When he came off, he was like, oh, my daughter. Like, he was like, oh, my daughter. He was hugging me. I was like, what? He was like, oh, my daughter just graduated, blah, blah, blah. And he was like proper in tears. And I was like, bro, what's going on here? And this guy, like, I hate to say it on camera, but he was just to see the joy and the happiness in his life, and to see, and the backstory to what he gave me about how he wasn't in a child's life, and it wasn't through no fault of his own, through just circumstances and life or whatever. But I love that, because the narrative on the outside is someone could see that and think that, oh, he's a deadbeat, or oh, you was never there for your child. But the child actually came, I think, at the age of like 16, 17 to like look for, I want to know my dad, kind of thing. And for him to only have like 2 years and to see that joy and that happiness, and I was just like, dude, I never want to miss anything. Like, I know, literally, I went home that day and I remember telling Ossie, and I was just like, fam, seeing things like that, that's one thing for me is like, I pick and learn from, like, because it's good to see the positives, it's good to see the bad, but I think like when you're in a situation and you kind of like get an insider's perspective on it, it kind of like, you could either take it to make you a better person, or you just ignore it. But more time and more often than not, which is unfortunate, I think like people do ignore certain things, which is why we have repeating cycles, in my opinion anyways. Like, you know, and my whole thing is trying to break that cycle, trying to break that narrative and saying that, oh, it can't be done, especially in our community, because we don't, like you said, we do not see that often. Growing up, I could tell you how many people that I knew had their father and their mother like in the same house. Like, so I think for our generation, it's definitely really important for these kids, because they're so, look, you're seeing your daughter, she's picking up so many things so quickly, like you were saying. Like, could you imagine like what example you want to set, or what example, you know, I would want to set? So I think it's very important to always have that like in your heart, like when parenting, because it's...
Yeah, I love to hear it, man. Because like I say, you just make it seem so doable, because for me, because I'm not used to seeing that, sometimes it's a bit of a shock to my system. Because I remember when you first told me you were having a baby, and it was just like, I feel like I blinked. She was one.
Literally. Like, she's just there,
like running around. And
bro.
Partner, and I just love to hear it, man. I feel like you're giving us some good advice as well.
Thank you.
I guess my next question for you is, what would you do differently if you had the opportunity to go back and do all over again?
That's a good question.
Not many people think of that, so I feel like it's nice to get your actual natural reaction to that.
That's a good question, you know. That's threw me for six. I don't, actually, honestly, I don't know. And the only reason why I say that is because I feel like everything that happened, like, is the reason why I am now, like, if that makes sense. I don't want it to be all like, I'm not trying to be all like fake deep or whatever, but honestly, I honestly think those experiences help shape what we're doing now in terms of like me and my partner, and like what we're doing with Akira. So I don't think I'll change anything. I think.
I respect it. So the reason why I like to ask everyone this question is because you find there's a pattern. A lot of people, they didn't realize what, I don't want to say purpose, but having a child, what it changes you as a man. It changes your perspective as a man, and I think it's so important, because a lot of people, it's like, it's easy to say in theory. People without kids, they always say, I will do this, I will do that. But people who have actually experienced it, there's not much you change, because your child has brought what you've become, your identity. And
you know, like with the kid, like you would know, you have to adapt. Like every child is. I remember I was saying to you, like every child is different. Like you and Akira and Aaron are. You've seen them together. Do you know what I mean? So whatever advice I can give you is probably not going to work for you, because you know your child better than I do. And that's one thing I always try to tell people, like, especially from growing up, I used to hate my parents doing that. You know, like all comparing. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't limit your child, or you shouldn't, you know, put your child in a box with certain things. You should just, you know, let them, and you figure it out. You kind of like learn as you go along, but you have to be attentive. That's the only thing I can say. Just be more attentive, like literally, that's it.
Yeah, but you know what, you've given us some good advice there, man.
Yeah, man.
Love for coming on the show, though.
Thank you, man. Anytime, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. Love.